The leather chair in the law office felt like a cage, and the silence that followed the reading of the will was a deep, cold insult. My name is Vivian Albright. I am 70 years old, and after 4 decades of unwavering devotion to my husband Victor, I was dismissed with the delicacy one reserves for trash. My eldest, Marcus, inherited the massive construction conglomerate. My youngest, Jason, received the booming chain of gourmet restaurants, the coastal villas, the fast cars, a clean $30 million split between them, the spoils of a war I didn't know I was fighting. My reward: a thin, yellowish envelope, heavy with dust, handed to me by the family lawyer, Scarlett Vance. I could still hear the sickening, condescending chuckle of my daughter-in-law, Charlotte. At least you can use it to store recipes, mother-in-law. They thought they had won. They thought I was finished, a ghost of a woman waiting for the end. They didn't know that tonight, in the quiet tomb of my home in Alta Mesa, that despised scrap of paper held a secret that would resurrect me and burn their carefully constructed future to the ground. Victor had passed away only a week prior. Pancreatic cancer had taken him swiftly, violently, over 6 cruel months. For 45 years he had been my anchor, the genius who built an empire from nothing. I was always there, selling my mother's heirloom jewelry when the banks refused to lend capital, managing the home front and raising our 2 boys alone while he traveled for business, staying up until dawn, bringing him coffee as he reviewed financials. I never asked for recognition, believing that when the time came, he would protect me. How wrong I seemed to be. I had arrived at Scarlett Vance's prestigious office wearing the violet dress Victor had given me on our last anniversary, expecting a formality. Surely, after half a century, I would be left secure and dignified. Scarlett began reading in a tone as clinical as a balance sheet. To my son Marcus Albright, I leave the construction companies, valued at $12 million. Marcus preened, a self-satisfied smirk crossing his face. To my son Jason Albright, I leave the restaurant chain, which generates $8 million a year, she continued. The extensive list went on. Luxury condos, sports vehicles, main accounts, all meticulously divided between the 2 brothers. $30 million were parceled out while I sat invisible. Finally Scarlett paused. She looked up and stated, "For Mrs. Vivian Albright, I leave her this personal envelope." The envelope was indeed yellowish and dusty, trembling slightly in my hand. Marcus went back to reviewing documents. Jason sighed, already burdened by my existence. Charlotte's laughter was sharp and inescapable. I stood up slowly, stuffing the empty-feeling envelope into my purse, feeling 45 years of love and sacrifice reduced to a worthless piece of paper. No one offered a goodbye or a ride home. I walked out of that office and through the streets of Alta Mesa, crying the way I hadn't since I was a lonely child. I was garbage to them. That night, sitting in the hollow silence of my living room, I decided to break the seal. My hand shook. Inside was a single folded sheet written in Victor's elegant, unmistakable script, the same handwriting I had known from thousands of love letters. But this message was different. For the woman who always truly loved me. Bank account number 8CHE. Ethelred Global Trust, Zurich. What you find here is only the beginning. They didn't deserve to know the truth, but you do. A Swiss bank account. My heart hammered against my ribs. What secrets had Victor kept? What truth was too vile for our sons to know? The next morning I called the bank. After an agonizing wait, the operator delivered the words that shattered my perception of reality. "Mrs. Albright, the current balance in your account is $100 million United States dollars." The phone slipped from my grasp. $100 million. More than triple the entire inheritance our sons had publicly divided. Victor had left me a hidden fortune, making the $30 million look like loose change. But the surprises weren't over. The operator informed me they also had instructions to courier a safe deposit box Victor had stored 2 years prior. What else had he hidden? The courier arrived promptly the next day. The combination to the heavy safe was our wedding date, June 15, 1980, a typically romantic gesture wrapped in a dark secret. Inside, among documents and photographs, was a thick envelope addressed to me. I opened the letter with trembling hands. My dearest Vivian, it began. If you are reading this, it means I have passed away, and our sons have shown their true colors at the reading of the will. I know they humiliated you. I know they treated you like trash. I needed it to happen this way. I needed them to show who they really are before you knew the truth. Victor confessed that during the last 2 years of his life, he had discovered truths about Marcus and Jason that broke his heart. The $100 million was only part of the real fortune, which was much larger. But first I needed to know why. My world swayed. Marcus is not the successful businessman he appears to be. For 3 years, he has been systematically siphoning money from my company to cover astronomical gambling debts. He owes over $2 million to loan sharks, men who are not understanding. He has mortgaged the house twice and is about to lose it. The proof is here in the box. I felt a physical blow. My proud, successful son was a thief and a compulsive gambler. But the letter continued, revealing Jason's sins were even darker. Jason has a 5-year cocaine addiction. He secretly sold 3 properties I gave him to fund his habit. Worse, he is involved with drug traffickers who are blackmailing him, demanding $500,000 by the end of the year. Tears streamed down my face. How could I have been so utterly blind? The final secret crushed me. But what hurts me the most, my love, is what they plan to do with you, Victor wrote. He had overheard them talking one night, thinking he was asleep. Marcus told Jason they needed to get rid of me quickly. Charlotte suggested they declare me mentally incompetent and commit me to a nursing home. They wanted to steal my share and lock me away where I wouldn't inconvenience their plans. That's why I made the decision to protect you, Victor continued. That's why I moved the bulk of my fortune to accounts only you can access. That's why I let them have the crumbs from the official will while you have access to the real inheritance. The $100 million are just the beginning. In total, more than $200 million that are now yours. He finished with a sentence seared into my soul. You decide whether you use this information to protect yourself or to teach them a lesson they will never forget. I have given you the weapons to take care of yourself. With all my eternal love, Victor. I sifted through the safe's contents. Photographs of Jason snorting cocaine, bank documents detailing Marcus's debts, contracts with dangerous loan sharks, and audio recordings. My husband had become a private detective, meticulously documenting our son's corruption. I found one recording that made my blood run cold. I heard Charlotte's voice. Once she's committed, we can sell the family house and split the money. She's an old woman, she won't notice a thing. And Marcus's reply. Mom was always so naive. It'll be easy to convince her it's for her own good. My investigation over the following days revealed a chilling detail. A contract signed between my sons and a geriatric care company. They had already paid a deposit to commit me to Silverstone Manor, a private nursing home 3 hours from Alta Mesa, dated 2 weeks before Victor's death. They had planned to rob me while I was mourning. The phone rang one morning. It was Marcus, using his sickeningly sweet, worried voice. Mom, Charlotte and I are worried about you. We need to talk about options to make you more comfortable, he insisted. What kind of options? I asked, feigning innocence. Well, there are some very nice places where you can have company activities, 24-hour medical care. Places like Silverstone Manor. I thought, rage boiling inside me. Jason called shortly after, sounding nervous. He parroted the same script, mentioning the cost of upkeep on the house and suggesting they sell it. The longer you wait, the harder it will be at your age, he pressed. Over the next few days, the calls intensified. They arrived unannounced, armed with brochures for senior living facilities. Charlotte showed me photos of gardens and activity rooms. I researched Silverstone Manor. It was a gilded cage where inconvenient elders disappeared. During a forced family dinner, I decided to test them. You're right, I conceded. Maybe it is time to make some changes. But first, I'd like you to help me review all of your father's company documents. I want to understand exactly what you inherited. The silence was instant and thick. Don't worry about that, Mom, Jason quickly interrupted. We'll take care of everything. You don't have to bother with paperwork. But I insist, I maintained. After 45 years of building that empire with your father, I have a right to know. Charlotte chimed in with her hateful, condescending smile. Mother-in-law, those things are very complicated. Numbers, taxes, contracts. It's better to let the men handle it while you relax in your new home. The men? I scoffed internally. Marcus then added, we've already made some important decisions. We've sold one of the estates to pay off company debts. Sold an estate. What debts? Victor had barely been buried for a month. They were already plundering the visible inheritance to cover their vices. That night I made my decision. I would not be the victim. I had $200 million, proof of their crimes, and 45 years of experience being the wife of a brilliant businessman. I called the Ethelred Global Trust. The deadly chess game had begun. The following day, an elegantly dressed older man named Harrison Ford arrived at my house. He introduced himself as an attorney, working under Victor's specific instructions, independent of Scarlett Vance. Harrison delivered a thick folder. Your husband asked me to deliver this to you exactly 1 month after his death. These are legal powers, contracts, and authorities that will allow you to take full control of all his companies, if you so choose. Victor hadn't just left me money. He had left me the keys to the entire kingdom. Harrison explained that while the will Scarlett Reed gave my sons apparent control, Victor had created a complex corporate structure where all the companies were umbrellaed under a family holding company. And I, Vivian Albright, was the owner of that holding company, controlling 51% of all shares. Victor had been playing chess while they thought he was playing checkers. Harrison revealed he had also spent the last 3 years investigating Marcus and Jason. What he discovered was enough to nullify their inheritances and initiate criminal proceedings. Marcus had stolen nearly $3 million from the construction firm to pay gambling debts. Jason had used company vehicles to transport drugs, turning the family restaurants into money laundering centers. Harrison played a recording Victor had made 3 weeks before his death. I heard Marcus's voice. When the old lady is locked up, we can liquidate everything and get out of the country with $50 million each. Jason's voice replied. Yeah, but we have to act fast. The cartel is pressuring me. My blood ran cold. They weren't just greedy. They were desperate criminals planning flight. Harrison gave me a special cell phone. This device is directly connected to my office and to the police. If you feel threatened at any moment, press the red button and help will be on its way. Harrison smiled, a cold, knowing look. Your husband asked me to tell you this verbatim. Vivian, you are stronger and smarter than they think. It's time they found out who they're messing with. I looked at myself in the mirror that night. I saw the wrinkles and the gray hair, but beneath the facade of the selfless mother, I saw the fighter I had been in my youth, the woman who sold her jewelry to build this life. She was dormant but not dead. I began my counterattack, transferring $10 million for immediate liquidity, hiring a private security firm, retaining a forensic accountant, and consulting 3 different criminal defense attorneys. On Friday morning, Marcus, Charlotte, and a man introduced as Dr. Thorne, a geriatric specialist, showed up unannounced. The commitment plan was in motion. Mom, we brought the doctor for a general checkup, Marcus said with the nauseating fake smile. Dr. Thorne, carrying a black briefcase, had a condescending attitude. Mrs. Albright, I just need to assess your cognitive state, he said, pulling out forms I recognized instantly. The mental incapacity documents prepared by Scarlett Vance. Do you remember how much money you inherited in the will? He asked, trying to spring the trap. If I said nothing, I was penniless and easily committed. If I said $200 million, I was delusional. I remember perfectly, I replied, staring directly at Marcus. I remember that you inherited $30 million in companies and properties. I also remember that I received an envelope that you considered trash. They exchanged satisfied glances, thinking I was admitting confusion. How do you feel about that distribution? Dr. Thorne asked. I feel, I said slowly, Like a woman who finally understands who the members of her family really are. Dr. Thorne closed his folder. Mrs. Albright, I believe it would be beneficial for you to spend a few days under medical observation. We have a very comfortable facility. No, thank you, I replied firmly. Charlotte made her critical mistake. She approached me with her venomous smile. Mother-in-law, don't be difficult. We all know you can't take care of yourself anymore. It's time you accept reality and let the adults make the important decisions. I smiled, a cold smile they had never seen. You're right. It is time for the adults to make the important decisions, I said. I took out the phone Harrison had given me and pressed record. I want to be very clear about what is happening here, I announced, keeping the phone pointed at them. My son Marcus, my daughter-in-law Charlotte, and this supposed doctor are trying to force me into a facility against my will. Marcus lunged for the phone. Mom, put that thing away. You're acting irrational. On the contrary, I said, stepping away. I am behaving exactly as a woman should who discovered her own family plans to lock her away to steal her inheritance. The mask fell away from Marcus's face. I pulled a photograph from my purse. Marcus leaving a casino with two dangerous-looking men. I'm talking about the gambling debts. I'm talking about the money stolen from the company. I'm talking about the contract you already signed with Silverstone Manor to have me committed. Dr. Thorne began backing toward the door. I think there's been a misunderstanding. Not so fast, doctor. How much did they pay you to sign false documents of mental incapacity? The man paled. I showed him another photograph. Him receiving an envelope of cash from Marcus. Victor had documented every dirty move. Charlotte began to cry, but it was panic, not sadness. Marcus finally lost control. Enough. You're a crazy old woman who doesn't know what she's talking about. Dad made a mistake leaving you anything. You're too stupid to handle money. Stupid? I asked, dialing Harrison Ford's number. Harrison, it's Vivian. They're here just as you predicted. Yes, I've recorded everything. If you touch me, I warned Marcus, it will be the last thing you do as a free man. Just then the doorbell rang. It was two police officers, accompanied by Harrison. We received your emergency call, Mrs. Albright, one officer stated. Harrison stopped the fake doctor. Dr. Thorne, or should I say Mr. Herrera, because you aren't a doctor, are you? The man admitted he was paid $5,000 to sign the papers. $5,000 for my freedom. Marcus and Charlotte were not arrested that day, but they were warned they were under investigation. That night I called both of my sons. I was not pleading, I was issuing terms. You have 24 hours to return every penny you stole from the family businesses. You have 24 hours to cancel the contract with Silverstone Manor. And you have 24 hours to confess the entire truth about your debts and your problems. Or what? Marcus asked, still defiant. Or tomorrow at 9 o'clock in the morning. 3 local newspapers will publish the full story of your crimes. Or I hand all the evidence over to the district attorney's office. Or I use the legal powers your father left me to completely revoke your inheritances. Impossible, Jason muttered. Dad left us everything in the will. You can't take what's already ours. Want to bet? I replied, my voice sounding exactly like Victor's when he closed a tough deal. It turns out your father was a lot smarter than you thought, and I'm a lot stronger than you imagined. Hung up. The next morning at 8 o'clock sharp, they were at my door, tails between their legs, defeated. Mom, Marcus said, the condescension finally gone. We need to talk. I let them stand in the middle of the living room while I remained seated in my armchair, the position of power I had earned. Jason started to cry, confessing the drugs, the debts, the loan sharks. And your solution was to rob me and lock me away. Yes. Marcus knelt before me. Mom, we're your sons. We love you. We just made terrible mistakes. You call planning my commitment love? You call stealing the money your father and I built together love? I told them that Victor, despite everything, still loved them. That's why he left you a chance to redeem yourselves. He left you $30 million, enough to pay all your debts and start over. But he also left me the power to take it away if you proved you didn't deserve it. They understood. What I want, I stated, walking slowly around them, is for you to understand that the game has changed. For 70 years, I have been the invisible woman who cleans up others' messes. That's over. Marcus, you will call all your loan sharks right now and tell them they will get their money, but it will come directly from your inheritance. He would be left with nothing after $3 million in debts were paid. You'll be left with exactly what you deserve after stealing from the family business for 3 years. Jason, you are going to check into a rehabilitation center, a real place where they will work with you seriously. He protested, fearing the cartel. They won't kill you because I'm going to pay them myself, but every dollar I pay for your debts will be deducted from your inheritance. I then called Detective Reyes, informing him that Jason Albright was willing to cooperate as a protected witness against the drug trafficking ring operating out of the family restaurants. Finally, I turned back to Marcus. You are going to sign your resignation as CEO of all companies. You are going to transfer all of your shares to me, and you are going to work as a common laborer, earning a basic wage, until you have paid back every penny you stole. A laborer. He was incredulous. You're going to start from the bottom, just like your father did. You're going to carry bricks, you're going to clean offices. You're going to learn what it means to earn money honestly. Charlotte, who had remained silent, tried to intervene. Mother-in-law, this is ridiculous. They can't accept these conditions. I smiled, a smile that froze the air. Oh really? And what are your options, my dear daughter-in-law? I produced a photograph of Charlotte kissing a young man in a hotel parking lot. Should I tell Marcus about your affair with Leo, the Pilates instructor? Or would you prefer I tell him about the $50,000 you've been siphoning from the family account to buy jewelry? Marcus looked at his wife in utter betrayal. I explained that Charlotte planned to stay with him just long enough to divorce him and take half the millions. I produced the final document, a divorce agreement prepared by Harrison. Charlotte was to sign it now, without asking for a single penny. She tried to deny it. I dialed the Pilates instructor's number. Hello Leo, this is Charlotte's mother-in-law. Yes, I have some very interesting photographs that I think your wife would want to see. Charlotte signed the document, crying inconsolably. Now get out of my house and never come back. If I see you near this family again, I will make good on my threat. I was left alone with my defeated sons. Do you understand now that I am not the helpless old woman you thought I was? Mom, can you ever forgive us? Jason asked. That's up to you, I told him. If you truly get clean, if you learn to be men of honor like your father was, maybe. But it's going to take years. I turned my back to them. Your father left me $200 million, my sons. Enough money to live like a queen until the day I die. Enough money to help thousands of people who truly need it. You will decide if you want to be part of that story, or if you will be left on the outside looking at what you could have had. When I turned back, they were gone. The power had changed hands for good. The following days were the quietest in months. Marcus kept his word, starting work as a common laborer on one of his own sites. Jason checked into rehab, cooperating fully with Detective Reyes. Charlotte vanished. I, Vivian, had to discover who I was as an independent woman. I visited the companies I now controlled. The first stop was the construction firm. I addressed the 30 employees. I am Vivian Albright, and from now on I am the owner and CEO of this company. The construction supervisor, Ben, respectfully asked if I had experience. Ben, I replied. For 45 years I sat at the kitchen table with Victor every night while he told me about every project, every problem, every important decision. For 45 years I reviewed contracts and listened to business strategies. The difference is that now, instead of advising from the shadows, I will be leading from the front. I implemented immediate changes. A full financial audit, a bonus system based on productivity, a clean slate for employees to report past irregularities, and a 30% increase in minimum wage. The applause was immediate. The workers had suffered while Marcus squandered money. I learned that Marcus hadn't just stolen for gambling. He had overbilled clients, sold high-quality materials, and bought cheap ones, compromising safety. The restaurant chain was worse. The manager, Maria, confirmed they had been pressured to accept special clients who paid in cash, running a blatant money laundering operation. My rage was volcanic, realizing my sons had intimidated honest people. But I also discovered my own natural business instincts. I liked having power. I liked being the boss. Called Harrison Ford. Jason was cooperating fully, dismantling the drug network from the rehab center. Marcus was carrying bricks under the sun. Poetic justice. I told Harrison I wanted to establish a charitable foundation. The Victor and Vivian Albright Foundation for Vulnerable Senior Women. Harrison recognized the purpose. Helping women who would have ended up like me had Victor not protected me. 6 months later, the foundation launched. I was dressed in a gold dress, the color of strength. The foundation had already helped over 200 older women, victims of financial abuse, domestic violence, and family attempts to declare them incompetent. Every story reminded me how close I had come to being one of them. Marcus called before the launch. He sounded different, more mature. "Mom, I wanted to wish you luck at the launch tonight." He mentioned finishing the affordable housing project I had proposed. "I know I have no right to ask you for anything, but can I come to the launch tonight?" he asked. He continued, "I'm proud of you. I want people to know that I'm your son. For 35 years I thought you were just my mom, and now I realize you are Vivian Albright, an extraordinary woman who just happens to be my mother." Tears rolled down my face. Those were the words I had waited decades to hear. "You can come," I finally said. "But you will come as a guest, not as privileged family. You will sit with everyone else and you will listen to what I have built without your help." "Understood," he agreed. The launch event was grand. I walked among the 300 guests, feeling more alive than ever. Marcus sat humbly at a table in the back. When I took the podium, I was firm. 7 months ago, I was a 70-year-old widow who thought her life had ended. I discovered that life can begin at any age if we have the courage to make the hard decisions. I discovered that being older does not mean being invisible. The applause was a standing ovation. I finished by acknowledging Marcus. This foundation also exists because I learned that forgiveness isn't something you give away, it's something that's earned, and that second chances are powerful, but only when they are accompanied by real change. Marcus approached me at the end of the night, openly weeping. "Mom, I want to apologize not just for the money. I want to apologize for not seeing you for 35 years. For treating you like you were just my mom instead of Vivian Albright, this incredible woman who was always there but who I was too blind to recognize." I hugged him, not as the mother who automatically forgives, but as the strong woman who recognizes genuine growth. "Forgiveness is earned with time and actions, but respect, you've already earned that," I told him. A year after the infamous will reading, I sit in the garden of the same house my sons wanted to sell. The businesses thrive, and I lead with both heart and head. Jason has been clean for 6 months. Testifying against the drug traffickers gave him a purpose the drugs never could. He now works at the foundation, helping other recovering addicts. Marcus, after a year as a laborer, was promoted to supervisor, not out of favoritism, but because the other workers respected his transformation. He had divorced Charlotte, who vanished. The biggest change is in me. I am no longer Victor's widow or the mother of Marcus and Jason. I am the CEO of 4 thriving companies, the founder of an organization that has helped over 500 women reclaim their dignity. I am living the most exciting decade of my life. The foundation has expanded dramatically, including shelters for victims of family abuse, legal aid programs, and a microloan program for senior entrepreneurs. We connect older women with young female entrepreneurs, the wisdom of one generation serving as the springboard for the success of the next. Harrison visited yesterday to discuss expansion. "Did you ever imagine you would become all this?" he asked. "Never," I answered honestly. For 45 years I thought my destiny was to be invisible. Now I understand that Victor didn't just leave me money in that dusty envelope. He left me permission to become who I always could have been but never dared to be. Marcus and Jason come for lunch every Sunday, consulting me about business and life. They respect my judgment. Forgiveness is a process. Every day I see Marcus treat his employees with respect. I forgive his past arrogance a little more. Every day I see Jason help a recovering addict. I forgive his betrayal a little more. The dusty envelope now rests on my desk. It holds letters from the women we have helped, photographs of project inaugurations, a symbol of transformation. It reminds me that crises are opportunities, and it is never too late to become who you are destined to be. If I could speak to the crying Vivian who left that law office a year ago, I would tell her, don't cry for what you have lost. Celebrate what you are about to gain. Don't lament the sons who betrayed you. Prepare to meet the men they are going to become. Free yourself to become the powerful woman you always had inside you. The pain was the birth pang of a new life, a life more meaningful and powerful than I ever dreamed.